experience the full power of the dark side. Good!
We will deal with your rebel friends soon enough.
What the? Ah! Misa back!
Prepare to fire!
Oh no!
Hello and welcome back to Star Wars Beyond the Stars for episode number 24, recorded on Friday, March 6th, 2015. I'm your host Fred, aka Sith Lord Korv. And joining me tonight is Agent Louis Olan.
Hello Fred, hello everyone on Twitch, hello YouTube, hello chat. What is going on? And as always, fair greetings from Imperial Intelligence.
Hey Lou, how you doing tonight?
Doing good. It's Friday. Friday. Oh, wait. Before I stopped singing that song.
You had the whole song memorized, didn't you?
Of course. When it first came out.
Were you gonna get Treat to sing the backup?
No.
ID10T?
You actually might do a better job. I mean, after using Trick for the past week on my Gunslinger and on my Assassin and on my Shadow, I'm just about to go for the mute button, but that's a different story.
Yeah, Treek is one that doesn't like to shut up.
Me too.
In the game or on the show. Captain Kimbray's up front trying to navigate us through an asteroid field while we're back here just playing some games.
Yes, it's quite the life we lead. She's up there piloting the ship by herself, and we're trusting her with the nav computers and everything else, and we're just... Wow, we really are bastards, aren't we?
Well,
we're just playing games.
Hey, man, we kind of tipped the odds in her favor this time. We brought ID10T and Treek, both of the most known to cause problems things on the ship, down here with us.
This is true. Yes, that is a good thing.
Goopa noopa.
So I have a great deal of confidence we're going to make it through that asteroid field a lot better than we would have if these two buffoons were up there with her.
Exactly.
And you can find out more about our show at StarWarsBeyond.com. We're available on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and SwitchOneNetwork.com. You can like us on Facebook at Facebook.com/StarWarsBeyondPodcast. And you can tweet the show at StarWarsBeyond. Our usual record time is Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at twitch.tv/NoSHTGaming. And the reason why we're recording on Friday this week is because my internet completely died over the last week, which was a real hindrance because I was kind of going through withdrawal. I couldn't even get into the game. I got into a couple KDY runs, Lou, and the internet would just die on me.
Well, considering that KDY is overplayed, it might have been a blessing at this point, saying, wow, can I really go through my 10th run of KDY for the day? No!
Man, I wish I could get into 10 KDY runs. See, when the expansion came out, they made us a KDY is still level 10 or 15, whichever it is, to 54. So anybody that's over 54 can't even get into KDY with you anymore. So there's not a whole lot of people in the pool to go into KDY with now. And it really sucks because I've queued up for KDY and actually played for hours before getting a queue pop. And then I somehow managed to get two of them to pop within an hour of each other. And both of them end up dying before we're even done with the first phase of the flashpoint.
What, you mean players just left?
No, I mean I just left.
Or the fact that you're yeah. Wow.
And when I would get back in, the internet would go down for a couple minutes, and then by the time I could log back in, I'd been booted from the group.
Right. Okay.
I wish the second time around I could have warned the group and been like, hey guys, my internet's been having issues. And I tried, but as soon as I typed that and hit enter, it didn't go through, and that's when I realized my internet was going down again.
Gotcha.
Like, hey guys, I'll be back. No. Now to log back in and I'm back on my ship, being sad. So then I figured, it'd be great. I'll go try doing some single player content because it can't kick me out of that. But then what would happen is the server would lag so badly, I would fire off a few attacks, and then by the time the server caught up, I was dead.
Or you'd see the little red X in the signal bar on the minimap. Like, oh, well, that's why. Look at that. I haven't seen that in a while.
Not my shining moments this last week. But luckily, we got that whole situation taken care of. Had the cable company come out here and everything. Rewired a few parts of the ship, and now we're good to go.
Awesome.
All right, so this week we're going to do things a little bit differently since it's just Lou and myself here. Yes, Treek, I know you're here as well. But we're going to go ahead and tell you what we've done over the last week, and we're going to have a little bit of a discussion. But there is something quick to mention this week, isn't there, Lou?
Yes, there is. And yeah, Star Wars Beyond the Stars is a Star Wars and a Star Wars The Republic based show. However, Fred and I and Paige like to think of ourselves, we're big science fiction fans overall. So anything major sci-fi related, we keep that in mind. And one of the big things we wanted to mention was we wanted to extend our condolences to the Nimoy family, to Leonard Nimoy. If you remember him, if you're a Star Trek fan, all right, Leonard Nimoy played Mr. Spock, one of the iconic characters of that series, and from the movies. And he passed away last Friday, February 27th. And, we here, being Star Trek fans as well, just wanted to say, we wanted to pass our condolences to the family and friends of Leonard Nimoy and to offer our own respects to him. Because, for myself personally, I'm a huge Star Trek fan as well. All right, I followed it since I was a kid, watching it on the original series in syndication, growing up in the 70s. All right, and then watching the very first set of movies with the original cast and crew, all the way up through Next Generation debut, same thing with Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and Enterprise. So yes, I followed Star Trek for all these years, all these decades, I should say. All right, along with following Star Wars and everything associated with it. So, you could say that I'm one of those sci-fi fans who loves both the Star Trek and Star Wars universe. So I like to keep in touch and keep apprised of both areas.
Yeah, and the loss of Leonard Nimoy specifically is a hard one because he fills in a similar role to what Anthony Daniels does, where every time something Star Wars related comes out, Anthony Daniels has at least a voice acting part in it. Leonard Nimoy was the same way with Star Trek. He made a point to stay active in just about every Star Trek property that came out. And now that franchise overall is going to be losing a huge contribution anytime they come out with a new property now.
Right, and again, just a little crossover as well. I also play Star Trek Online, and Leonard Nimoy was, until he passed away, he was very active in that game. He does voiceovers, narration stuff for that game. All right, and that game recently had its, it was celebrating now its 5th year anniversary. Okay, and anything new that came out, Nimoy has been involved with in some way. So to have him pass away, it's very sad, and it's like imagining soon, when we bring it back to the Star Wars universe, like one of the major, for example, Harrison Ford just had that plane accident yesterday. God forbid, thank God nothing happened to him. But just imagine, losing someone like that in the Star Wars family. Okay, yes, Alec Guinness passed away years ago, and the franchise is less of that because who did he play? Obi-Wan Kenobi. Very first time we ever met Obi-Wan Kenobi. And now Ewan McGregor takes his place as the youngin. young Obi-Wan Kenobi, but for me being one of the older fans of Star Wars, whenever you say Obi-Wan Kenobi, I don't think of Ewan McGregor. It's always going to be sort of like Guinness first. Pops in my head.
Yeah, but if Lucas was still on the scene after Ian McGregor got old, he'd go through the old movies and like completely dub him in the original Obi-Wan had been.
Another remastered edition.
George Lucas special edition.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Jay, we just started actually. So welcome.
Just be a horrible head pasted over a body.
Well, at least with today's special effects and CGI. I mean, I like the fact that when I think the very first time they did the remaster for Return of the Jedi, and you saw the original actor who played Darth Vader, the elderly gentleman they had, in the Jedi robe, standing with Ben and Yoda. And then again, what happened later on? Who they put Hayden Christensen in there? All right, it's like, geez, man.
Like, they just completely wiped him out of Star Wars history. That poor old guy.
Yeah, it's just, it's to me, it's a bit shameful.
No, Matt, I would be if I was in Star Wars and they just erased me and replaced me with somebody else.
Well, but then again, you gotta, everyone I think at this point realized that Lucas had his retcon phase where he was just totally changing things on the fly. Not on the fly, but he was just changing things left and right with his own franchise.
That was Lucas's version of a cash grab. He changed things to get people to buy the movies again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I did think that it was nice that the Star Trek Online community actually banded together and requested that a memorial to Leonard Nimoy be added to the game. And as a result, they decided they're going to add a memorial, statues of all of the original cast members that have passed away, and a plaque commemorating their names.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, and they patched it in yesterday because Stowe, or Star Trek Online, actually has maintenance day on Thursdays, and they have a statue on New Romulus and on Vulcan of Leonard Nimoy's character, Mr. Spock, and there is a memorial plaque as well on those two planets, as well as on Earth space dock. If you're a Star Trek fan, if you remember the later movies where Earth has that humongous sized space station floating above it, where starships can park inside of it. That's called ESD in the game. That's Earth space dock. There's a memorial plaque there, and there's also a memorial plaque as well on Kronos, the Klingon homeworld. Because remember, there are fans that play Klingons too, so they put a memorial there as well. Which is nice, because when you actually read the plaque, you'll see the actors' names on there, on the plaque itself, but there's also a little text box saying to continue reading it. And when you read it, you actually see everyone who's been involved with Star Trek. From Roddenberry to the major screenwriters, script writers of the series, any of the series, meaning the original series, DS9, Voyager, Enterprise. Yeah, all those people who were involved with Star Trek who passed away are there. So you can see, the people they've lost over the decades, which is a nice touch.
Yeah, that's a really nice thing for them to do.
Mm-hmm.
And, not that I'm saying anything about any other specific developers, but they threw that together very quickly after the players asked for it.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much. And you know what? That's something they could do for the Star Wars family.
That's true.
That would be great. I mean, at this point, I would say screw lore. It's like, this is a statue / memorial to Peter Cushing, Grand Moff Tarkin. All right, this is to for David Prowse, the original body actor for Darth Vader. Okay, for the first 3 movies, and so on.
I do think it's funny. Jay just said, I don't think that's a fair comparison, Fred. BioWare could certainly knock out something as focused as a memorial just as fast. Well, I don't know about that, Jay. I mean, there's been times when I've seen things that are supposed to be little tiny changes to the game, and it takes them weeks. Star Trek Online literally created new assets for something in a very small amount of time. What was it, like a week, Lou? And they got it patched in? After they said they were going to do it?
Yeah, they literally said something Friday, actually, Leonard Nimoy passed away, I think, Thursday night. And then Friday morning and Friday afternoon Eastern time, okay, a lot of the players who had finally caught up in the news were actually buzzing the devs on the forums and on their various social media feeds saying, hey, what's going on? Like, what can we do? And because what was happening is that the players themselves were actually organizing themselves within the game, getting together, saying, hey, you know what? He passed away. You know, let's all meet up at Vulcan and do something. So again, the devs feeding off player feedback and seeing the player response that they didn't initiate, saying, you know what? My God, they did something great. You know, they want to do something nice. Let's help them do it. And yeah, in less than a week, they put the assets together and they put it, and now it's in the game. But, you know, again, you know, that's something I think Tor can do. Because, again, the reason why BioWare Austin chose this version of the Hero Engine was because they wanted a game engine that they could actually do something like that, where it's very little turnaround and dump it into the game and have it go live with very little impact. Whether or not that happens all the time, we all know, you know, it's dicey, but that's the reason why they chose this version of the Hero Engine. It was because they wanted that quick turnaround to where if they come up with a great idea, they could put it in.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think BioWare could do something like that. I've just never actually seen them add something to the game that quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as far as anything goes, it always seems like any change that BioWare makes is a multi-week process. So if they wanted to add some kind of memorial to somebody, like, you know, God forbid if it would have been Harrison Ford that, you know, passed in that plane crash that he was just in, I think it would be at least a month before we saw something added to the game to commemorate him. But have you noticed that Harrison Ford has been having horrible luck since he signed on to do this new movie?
Well, you don't mean like the very first major accident he had where I think he broke his leg?
Yeah, I mean, he did that on the Millennium Falcon door. And now, like, they need to keep this man in a bubble when he's not on the set. And then even sometimes when he is.
He just needs to be carried. He needs to be in his own pile of hay and being, you know, varied from place to place on the set, saying, all right, Mr. Ford, don't just sit in the chair. We got you. Don't break anything. And well, yeah, no smuggler's luck before. Nothing for him.
Oh,
he doesn't get to hit that ability.
He's that guy that pulls the lever on the slot machine and it blows up on him. I mean, he has had horrible luck since he signed on, and he still has 2 more movies to make after this.
Oof. Let's hope Mr. Ford pulls through.
So we have to search down some of his stunt doubles from Indiana Jones.
Yeah, they're gonna have to start lining up. Like, we need more of you, just in case.
Get out one of the backup Harrisons.
Mm-hmm.
And
gonna need him.
Did you see after that plane crash that World of Warcraft sent out a tweet of a picture of that Harrison Jones guy with the crashed plane?
Yep. And the moment I saw that, I realized I knew exactly what zone they were in. See, oh yeah, I know where that plane is. Oh damn. That was pretty quick.
Now, see, that would have been a funny opportunity for BioWare to act, send out a tweet of, like, one of those crashed space shuttles on some random planet, and just have a smuggler standing in front of it. Everybody would have got the joke. But
there's a bunch of them in Balmora they could have used.
Yeah, but see, they probably would have got in trouble with the Disney overlords if they sent out something like that.
Who knows? You know what? They should have just... It's better to beg for forgiveness than to ask for permission. Because it's already out there. And Jay, you know what? I'll have to actually double check that. In terms of, I don't know whether he actually signed for a series of movies or he's just committed right now just to the first one, to this one, to episode 7.
I would be surprised if they didn't have all of them sign on to the trilogy.
Yeah, because normally that's how, well, at least for Lucas, that's how he worked with them in the past. So I don't know if they carried that over to when Disney took over the IP.
I think we won't find out until we know exactly what role they're going to have in that. Like, if he's just a small cameo, then no. But if he's actually going to be a main character in the plot, he probably will be there for all 3.
Mm-hmm.
I remember at some point, I think it was Kathleen Kennedy said that the new movies is going to be about passing the lightsaber on to a new generation. So I don't know if they're just going to be there for that first movie just to kind of pass the torch and have new people rise into those old roles.
Which actually would be nice, because then you could actually have them appear all throughout Episode 7 in little scenes here and there, but essentially driving home that point to where, it's X amount of years afterward. Luke, Leia, Han, Lando, Calrissian have all had, they've had their day. Or they realize, you know what, if the fight's going to continue, it's got to continue. We've got to pass it to the younger generation because we can't do it anymore. Now we're a liability.
I mean, Harrison Ford can't even come on the set without getting hurt. He's going to be at the premiere, and this movie theater chair is going to fold up on him.
Yeah. Jay, I refuse to listen to any spoilers. All it is I'm taking whatever Disney and JJ release officially on StarWars.com, those sites, the official sites, whatever information they put out there, and then I'll go to the other websites, the other social media sites, just to see what everyone's saying. All right, we're going to dissect the minute 20 trailer. Okay, it's all speculation. So okay, how far can we go with this? In the end, it complete 180 to what everyone expects. So,
I mean, the internet made basically a month-long debate about if it's stupid to have a handguard on a lightsaber.
Right. People still get angry about that for some reason.
It was just a preview, and everybody, what is that? I don't want that in my Star Wars.
Yeah, what made me angry is the fact that, why are we back in that stupid sandball of a planet? I'm sorry, I hate Tatooine. It's just one of those planets, I wish the franchise would just completely get the hell away from at this point. And that's one of the things that made me angry when I first saw the Force Awakens trailer. I was like, why are we back in that Dust Bowl again? There are tens of thousands of civilized planets that make up the Republic, and at this time frame still, the Empire, or what's left of the Empire. And at this point, again, if we're speculating, if the new Republic is being formed, and yet we have to go back to this sandball.
Remember, though, they threw out most of those planets when they ruled out the EU. So that leaves just Alderaan, which is gone. Tatooine.
Well, no. The fact that they always keep coming back to it for no reason at all. I mean, if the lore is out, okay, and if Tor is legend status, Tor is legend status, by the way. It is legends status, okay? Then we have to realize that with KOTOR and KOTOR 2, because one of the more important things with Tatooine is the fact that it used to be, a slave world for the Rakata, all right? The same people were slaves. We're a slave race, along with the Jawas on Tatooine. All right, and when they all rebelled and kicked the Rakata off the planet, that's what made the Great Scar. Yeah, if you see that Codex entry on Tatooine, that's what caused the Great Scar, because that's the Rakata's final FU before they left. They turned Tatooine into a dust ball.
With all the stuff that they've thrown out and just admitted that they've thrown out, just the fact that they won't give a straight answer when people ask them if SWTOR's canonical or if it's legend status, that means it's legend status, and they don't want to piss people off. Like, if it was canon, they would come out and say it was canon.
It's canon, yeah. They would.
But I can kind of get why they don't do that, because they don't want people knowing this game falls under legend status when they have a movie about to come out, and this is the only Star Wars MMO out there. They want people to play it. And to some people, it matters whether it's canon or not.
Right. Yeah, and Jay has a point. Yeah, Jay brought up a point there. Special status within the Star Wars lore it's in question. No one really. There's been no definitive answer whether or not it's canon, because they won't openly admit it. So you can't say it's canon. And we all know that Disney and has said that all the stuff that they have officially put their stamp on has been relegated to legend status, the limbo status, so to speak. Like, all right, it's there, whatever. And to me, it all boils down to Disney, and especially J.J. Abrams, don't want to be tied to having to make sure there's continuity between the older Star Wars offerings that have been out there already for the past 3 decades. Saying, all right, how do I fit my story into what the EU has put out for the past 3 decades? What all the past games that have been out with the Star Wars logo on it have done.
And see, now Jay saying that, or it means that it's canonical and they don't want to spoil Episode 7. But nothing in SWTOR would spoil Episode 7. Even if there is some hint to whatever Episode 7 is about in the game. And my whole thing is, if this game's canon or if it's not, I don't care. I enjoy playing it. That doesn't matter to me one bit. But I think somebody in a suit is like, well, you know, what they're doing is not really canon because we have complete creative freedom here at Disney. But we don't want to come out and say that our game that's still running is non-canonical, because you notice all the books that they're coming out with now are part of the new canon. Star Wars The Old Republic is the only game that is still in active development that they're not giving a straight answer about. Because you don't want to say a game is non-canonical, but yet it's still adding new content all the time.
Right, because then at that point, you know, a fan would say, a Star Wars fan, like, well, for me, a Star Wars fan, I would say, then what's the point? I'm playing a Star Wars game because I want to be, you know, I want to immerse myself into the lore, into the history of the Star Wars universe. But if I know what I'm playing is nothing, in the end, it doesn't mean a damn thing, then, you know, why would I continue playing other than the fact that, all right, you know, I like what I'm playing. That's the only reason why I keep playing. It's like, all right, fine, it's not canonical, nothing makes sense here, it's all, Bioware can do whatever the hell it wants now, and they wouldn't care, because it doesn't matter in the end.
Yeah, and see, that's the difference. Like a game like KOTOR 1 and 2, if they come out and say KOTOR 1 and 2 are non-canonical, well, you own KOTOR 1 and 2. That sucks, but it's not like you're continuously paying for KOTOR 1 and 2. Star Wars The Old Republic, on the other hand, is a game that they want you to subscribe to. And if, you know, a handful of people hear, oh, it's non-canonical, I'm not playing it anymore because it doesn't matter, like you just said, Lou, then that's how much money every month that they're losing. Mm-hmm. And they don't want to lose any money that they don't have to. Right,
because, you know, I'll go back to, you know, when the first games came out, when the Dark Forces game came out, okay? You're playing Kyle Katarn. You know, at first, you know, he was a non-Force user, and it turns out he was a Force sensitive anyway, but what were you? You were playing a smuggler helping out the Alliance, okay? And you were in the Star Wars universe. You were actually participating in the Civil War. Okay, and now I imagine if, you know, Disney said those games no longer count, it's like, oh my god. That, you know, that would hurt a lot of fans, because, you know, that's a great series of games. You know, that tied in a nice portion of the story together. And, you know, those characters carried over into the EU books. Okay? So
that is what they said, though. They're like, that stuff's non-canonical.
So, you know, again, you know, they have to actually, they need to just sit down and say, you know what, we need to take a good look at this. Make sure we don't F up our franchise.
But I don't think that there's any reason why Knights of the Old Republic and SWTOR couldn't be canon. But, you know, I take an optimistic look at a lot of things when it comes to this game. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to whether or not this game is canon, they would have to make the announcement that it is canon for me to even believe that. Because I honestly believe that if this game was canon, they would come out and say it. But their silence is speaking louder than their words to me right now.
Right. They're pulling the old, we will neither confirm nor deny what is happening. Okay, Senator. Not a problem.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're going to force me to make a decision, I'm going to assume that this game isn't canon. Otherwise, you would have announced it as part of your canon with everything else.
Right. I mean, there's, at this point, if it is, just say it. Just say it. I mean, if it affects, or if someone thinks it affects Episode 7 onward that much, really? It's like, really? You think it affects that much? Why?
The point of SWTOR being based when it is so the movies that came before it would have no relevance on SWTOR. That's why this game is based so far in the past. So far before Darth Vader even comes to be. And I don't see Episode 7, which is supposed to happen after Episode 6, having any relevance in the Old Republic timeline.
Right. You know, because obviously, you know, I don't, that's why I don't understand why they just won't come out and say it, that KOTOR 1 and 2 are canon, because, again, Episodes 1 through 6 and now 7 through 9 are all in the future. Okay? If anything, you know, those movies never have to deal with the past. Yeah, they can allude to it, which is I think a maybe one of the issues they don't want to incur, is the fact that if they ever do talk about past events that affect the Order or the Republic in some way, and then realizing that, oh crap, wait a minute, LucasArts released a game 15, 20 years ago that specifically outlined what happened during this time frame, and they go, oh crap, what just happened?
The only reason that I could figure they wouldn't want to consider SWTOR part of their canon is maybe they take the player characters into account on some level, and they're like, well, it wouldn't really make sense that you have this dark side Jedi that's dressed like a Sith running around with the red lightsaber crystal, and the other members of the Republic aren't smiting them. That's all I can figure, is the player characters might mess up what their idea of canon is if they're considering that. But the story itself should be part of the canon, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't see why they have an issue with it. I mean, again, if the Force Awakens trailer causes too much confusion for the fans, as to who he is or what he is, okay? Again, it's just basic, they're a Jedi and they're a Dark Jedi. Okay, there have been Dark Jedi before the Sith were even founded. Okay, a lot of people don't realize that. Okay, especially when you read the Dark Horse series, Dawn of the Jedi. Okay, you have the light side Jedi, and then you have the Dark Siders, and they're the ones who leave. Okay, and it's not until later on, till with the first the Dark Jedi find the Sith, and then they become the Sith. Okay, because again, a major portion of the EU as well is the fact that one of the deadliest opponents Luke ever faced wasn't a Sith Lord; he was a Dark Jedi. So again, maybe it's the big bad Emperor. He survived all these thousands of years.
Oh my, that'd be crazy.
Yeah, it would. Again,
that would be neat though if it was him.
Then it'd be like, Bane, you failed.
Bane. Or what if it is Bane? Because the books never actually had Bane die, did they? Like, it never detailed Rain killing him. I mean, it's assumed that she does, but I don't think it was ever covered in a story, was it?
Nope, it was never officially covered, but it's assumed because that's the only way the Rule 2 ever moves forward.
Or maybe he did what, Ajunta Paul and those other guys do. They seal themselves up and continue to live in spirit form.
Probably. I mean, I wouldn't put it past them. They could. I mean, the game has shown, other games have shown that Sith spirits have the tendency to stick around longer for some reason. They just refuse to go.
Like the Exorcist, they just refuse to cross over.
Yeah, that's right.
Go toward the light. No. Okay, so then, why don't you tell me what you did in game over the last week, Luke? I know you got some game time in there.
Yeah, I've been keeping busy for a bit. Okay, and obviously now, the past week the Greed event's been over. A little sad, but a little joyful too, because I'll admit by the third or fourth day, it wasn't becoming a chore, but it was becoming a little bit hard to do it. Because it was literally me running 7 of my characters through Greed events.
Ooh, the definition of a grind.
Want those damn gray helixes. Alright, so, it's over, and I was actually very happy that I made friend status. When I was actually looking at what I had left and the amount of stuff of rep tokens I had in all my characters, I was like, crap, can I do it? Can I actually make it? Yes! Friend status! Because I really wanted to be able to buy those armor sets that you can buy off the vendors on Ilum. Alright, the blue and red scaling armor sets. Because what I'm doing is that, I had a couple of my max level characters with all the money. Go to Ilum and actually buy the sets for my alts and just dump them into my legacy storage in my strongholds and have those characters come, go back in and just pick them up. Because I really, I like the look of the green armor, of those green sets, and to me, it's something different for leveling up my characters now. Because, when you first play the game, and you're first leveling up a character, and you get some really cool looking, some really good upgrades, but like any MMO, it looks like crap, and what you're wearing doesn't match. So of course, I think it's in every MMO where it's endemic to where you're going to be a mixed match set of gear and weapons. But screw it, because it's just so good you have to wear it.
Well, Remember what it was like in this game before they added the match to chess button?
Yes, before they added that option, to me it was a complete nightmare. Having a black chess piece with orange pants, yellow boots, green gloves, and a white helmet. Like, yes, look at me.
I remember running around on the Sith Lord Korv, and he looked terrible. He was wearing like a purple robe and some red boots and some white gloves, and basically looked like an extra from a Thriller video. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, on my old gaming laptop, which is what I used when the game first came out, I have a screenshot library there, and I'm looking over it every now and then, like, oh my god, so that's my Marauder was wearing in January 2012. Holy bleep! Like, my sorcerer was wearing that? Jeez, how come no one was laughing at me? Oh, because we all look like that. No one cared because, hey man, I'm in the same boat. I'm not gonna laugh. I look like garbage too.
Heck, man, even now, if you're running around looking like that, nobody can laugh at you when there's a body type 4 dude in a thong running around on the fleet.
Yes, this is true. Okay, but in the end, I'm glad that now all my alts will never have to suffer through that ever again, because now that I'm at, I have that status with degree, and also with other factions that are out there, which I'll get into later on. I have the ability now to just give them the sets of armor, and those characters can now just spend a little bit of money here and there and just buy the actual mods to upgrade their gear. Okay, they don't have to depend on, alright, this quest will drop. No, I can actually get that from a crafter, which in some cases will be better. In the end, like, once I finally make the adjustments, it'll be better. And my characters still remain powerful, and yet still, to me, look aesthetically pleasing to where it won't be an eyesore going, man, what the hell am I doing? What am I wearing? I look like I came out of the Ringling Brothers and Bailey Circus.
My favorite one was when we were doing Yavin 4 and you were there on your Marauder, and the new gear, the robe, was just clipping horribly, like something was sticking out of her butt.
Yes, and that leads me into another issue later on. Yes, because if those of you who are listening, if you've reached that point to where you can actually buy the very first set of gear on Yavin 4, the basic commendation gear, the basic gear, level 60 gear, okay, and if you have a Sith Warrior, whether you're a Marauder or a Juggernaut, you're going to have what I call that butt flap over your hiney, because what happens is that the chest piece has a, obviously a lower robe type extension. Your legs are open or exposed, but you do have that back part where it's a lower level, like you have a long, elongated, like tuxedo tail, all right, that goes down to your ankles. It wouldn't be so bad. It actually looks pretty decent. However, there is a little piece that sticks out at waist level and goes just down past the end of your rear end. And it's literally, it looks like a piece of metal. And over the past few days, I've been wondering, where does that really come from? Until I looked at maybe a similar set to it, which is the Blade Savant gear that's out there now. I think that came out maybe a cartel pack or two ago. That's out there now. And if you notice, the Blade Savant gear has kind of what, for those in the military, like a groin pad, which means it's Kevlar protection that extends past below your groin. All right, and they have the same kind of extension, but for your rear end. And I think that's exactly what happens, is that if they use the same graphic or the same model for that armor, someone forgot to tell them to take that back flap off and disassociate it with that model for the level 60 Sith Warrior gear. Mm-hmm. Because when I look at it, it's like that piece of armor shouldn't be there in the first place. It has no bearing whatsoever on that armor set.
Yeah, that's just like those lightsabers I was talking about. They look like they have lights on them from another model. They don't belong there. Mm-hmm. Like they straight up copy-pasted the armor and weapons and just forgot to remove certain assets from them.
Right, and I think that's what happened with the Sith Warrior basic commendation set on Yavin 4. It's the fact that somehow that piece of armor was overlooked and it wasn't deleted from that shell. Because when you look at the rest of the lower piece of that chest piece, everything that looks natural or fits, quote unquote, its look, except for that one back flap. So I was like, all right, that really shouldn't be there, because I really think they just forgot to get it out of there. So maybe, one of these days they'll get around to fixing it.
Well, they probably see that as low priority since you could pull the stuff out and use another armor set.
Right, which is what I did. In the end, you know what? I'm not going to wait for them to fix it. So instead of me just dealing with the eyesore and hating the way my Marauder looks, I just yanked out all the armorings on that chest piece and just put in another chest piece that I really liked. And that's what she's sporting now, a new chest piece. But everything else is still the same. But I digress. I mean, after devoting the majority of my time previous week to doing the Grieve, man, I mean, literally that's all I was doing. It was just doing the Grieve. On all my characters that could do it. Running the dailies on my own, obviously, and then participating in the heroic that was there, and then getting a few of the maybe a couple of Xeno runs and then I gave up after the second day. Because waiting around for a Xeno group to form sometimes, but especially, well, I should say, to be fair, the times I was actually trying to participate in the Xeno analyst run, there weren't many people around, or people had already done it, or they just weren't willing to do it. So by the second or third day, I stopped just trying to go for the Xeno runs, because I was like, I have other characters I want to run through this, and obviously I want to stock up on rep tokens and such. So you know what, it's better for me just to forego it for now. I'm not going to be hurt. One of these days it'll come back. I'm hopeful, but I'm not going to waste my time sitting here waiting for the damn group to form.
That was like when the Rackle event was going on, and I'd be waiting for the Heroic 4 to find a group. Mm-hmm. I'd be sitting there in the Heroic area looking for a group, and I would see level 55 characters come running in there and solo the mobs and not group up with anybody.
Yeah, because unfortunately, at some points in your your play schedule or in the game, yeah, it's actually, it might be faster for you to do it. If you have a character that's that powerful and can do it, fine, by all means. But at this point, I don't want to waste my time, so I just said, screw it, I'm doing other stuff. And now that the grievance's over, and I can go back to doing the rest of the stuff I want to do with my characters. And one of the big things I wanted to do was I wanted to go back and start, go back to working on some of my alts. Most notably is my commando, my sniper, and my bounty hunter. And this is the bounty hunter on Shadowlands, who's going to be a DPS power attack.
Nice.
So I wanted to work on those characters because, to a point, to take a break in the end game stuff or the dailies grind. That's why I have my lower level alts to bring me back to, all right, this is why I enjoy playing the game so much, because I love taking these characters through the story and doing other stuff with them. So that's what I'm doing now. It's like I took a step back from my level 60s, and now I'm going back to my level 12s, my level 18s, my level 20s, and I'm playing with them, and putting them through the story and getting them up there.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing too. I'm going through both factions' low-level content, like side by side. I'm playing a Consular and clearing a planet, and then I'm playing a Power Tech and clearing that same planet on the other faction, and kind of leapfrogging them one after another up. And it really does change up the monotony a little bit. The only thing that sucks is when you get on a horrible planet that you don't like, and both of them are on it at the same time, then it really makes that planet feel long.
Right, and I've gotten around that to where I literally would just take, like my Sith Juggernaut. I literally, like the last the 2-time XP weekend we had, I literally blasted her through Balmora. I mean, class story and all the planetary missions, just to get her out of there, because my assassin, all right, just finished DK. And was about to hit Balmora. I was like, oh, no. I'm not going through this. Back to back. My Juggernaut's getting the hell off this world. Okay, she's done. On to Nar Shaddaa for you. Yeah. That way, when I want to play my Juggernaut, I'm on Nar Shaddaa. And when I go play my Assassin, yeah, I'm on Balmora. But, it's not like I'm going from Balmora to Balmora. I'm like, oh, man. There's no break in this.
See, I was trying to avoid a lot of that outright by playing the Consular. I wanted to take him through KDY most of the way to max level, but that plan doesn't work because the queue barely pops anymore, and I wish I would have known that before I spent hundreds of thousands of credits unlocking the Flashpoint XP bonuses.
Ah. Well, I know when the Greed event started, a lot of queues weren't popping for anything because, you know, you have to admit, a lot of people were probably on their characters that could run the Greed event. And since we all know the Greed hasn't come around for the longest time, they all wanted to take advantage of it. You know, everyone was on the high-level characters that could do it, and they were all stocking up on the tokens, just running as many characters as they could through the content. You know, I don't blame them for that. You know, and you would see that cross chat or that chat in the zone, whether it was Fleet, other planets. You know, you see why aren't queues popping? Well, because Greed's on and everyone's on their high-level characters, man.
Yeah,
you don't have to wait.
That's what people were doing too.
Mm-hmm.
They hit that event hard because they know it's probably going to be a year before it comes back.
Right. So again, you know, you can't blame players for wanting to take measures against that, and they did. You know, they farmed the hell out of it and all their characters. So.
Yeah, but it's a little crazy though that they bring it back so rarely that you feel like you have to grind through it on 7 characters to make a dent.
Well, I know I met someone in my first heroic group, the very first heroic you get there on Ilum from the Gree. This guy was actually, he had 16 slots on Jedi Covenant. He's running all 16 of his characters through Gree. And then he had another 16 on Bastion that he wanted to run through. I'm like, wow, okay.
Yeah, see, that's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, if he has time, he can do it. Hey, more power to him.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, that guy, either he only works part-time or he doesn't work because they have the time to run 16 characters through, or it was his day off.
Right.
One or the other, because that's crazy. Because I know I was doing the Rackle event on every character that I possibly could, and I was doing that after work. And that was probably taking me 4 or 5 hours once I got home to do that. Mm-hmm. And that was probably on half the characters he was running that on.
Right. So again, you know, if he can do it, hey man, more power to you. It's great. You enjoy the game that much? Awesome. Also, during the past week, I was able to max out my rep for Oricon and Yavin 4.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so now all my level 60s have the appropriate walker mount for their faction. Like I said before last episode, each of them had a spare 100k, which I didn't touch, saying, "Oh no, you're not touching that. That's part of the kitty for the walker mount." And man, the moment I hit that my character, whatever character I was on, I forgot who I think. Yeah, I was on my Sentinel, and I hit Legend status with Yavin 4. I was like, yeah.
That had to feel badass running around on a walker.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, bought the walker mount and logged off, and just continually logged on, switch characters, just buying the walker mount and putting them in there, and of course hotkeying it to one of my bars, that mount. So it's amazing because I do love those mounts. I've loved those things since Star Wars Galaxies. Especially also since Episode 3. Remember Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith? Remember when you see the clone troopers helping defend Kashyyyk? All right, what do you see towards the end of the movie? You know, what are they piloting? They're piloting, you know, the ATRTs. All right, the all-terrain reconnaissance transports, the single-man walkers, which is what these things are.
Now, is this the first walker that you've had access to?
Yes. Although I could have bought the other ones before that ones you see in the GTN, but I was like, you know what? I could probably save those credits for something else, and I don't mind doing the dailies in Yavin 4 because 1, it's easy money, and 2, heck, rep tokens, I get a walker mount for free.
That is true.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, if I can get a mount or gear sets or weapons or whatever just by doing reputation missions, I'd rather do that than actually pay the money. Okay, and I'm sorry, yeah, go ahead, Frank.
I was just going to say, this is how I prefer it. If they're going to make something available on the cartel market or through an event, at least give us a more easily obtained skin of that type of thing. Mm-hmm. That way everybody can have access to the mounts and stuff that they want to have.
Right. And Jay, I feel your pain. Because even though, you know, Jedi Covenant's a PvE server, I have seen flag players on both factions and groups, or hell, I've seen ops team size groups running around flagged. And their sole purpose in life is just to wreck the other faction. Right? They're not there to do dailies, whatever. They're just there to find, flagged pubs or flagged imps, and just completely ruin their day. And you know what? If you're flagged, okay, you pretty much asked for it, and it is kind of rough.
I was actually listening to the Massively Overpowered podcast that just started a few weeks ago with the new Massively OP website.
Mm-hmm.
And they were talking about the Star Wars Galaxies days and how the PvP system worked in that game. And that basically when you allied yourself with a faction, you could openly attack members of the opposite faction and trigger it on and off. So basically, you could be a rebel and you could hide that from everybody else around you until you did something that flagged you.
Yes. So you always had to be careful when you were in the player towns or in the actual cities on the planets, cities, villages, towns, whatever that was on there, because that could happen at any time. You could think you were safe, and all of a sudden, you would see several players come out of nowhere who flag themselves, and you'd be dead within 5-10 seconds.
But see, that's neat though, how in that game, because your faction just wasn't blatantly obvious like it is in this one, mm-hmm. you could actually blend into a crowd and nobody would know that you were one of the bad guys until you kill one of the good guys.
Right, well, but then that all changed though. I mean, the moment you flagged yourself, if you were the opposite faction of the town you were in, because in Galaxies, alright, allegiance or control of that town would switch hands, meaning if the Empire controlled that town, yeah, you would see Imperial troops, the regular black uniform, black helmeted Imperial troopers, along with stormtroopers, Imperial droids, patrol droids, whatever, patrolling the city. Okay, if the Alliance controlled that, then you see rebel soldiers, rebel droids, what have you, doing the same thing. So the moment you flagged yourself and you were the opposite faction, not only would you have to worry about other players coming after you, you have to worry about the entire city trying to kill you.
Did Galaxies have a Hutt Cartel faction you could join?
Yes, there were neutrals. There was a neutral faction.
See,
you could ally yourself with the Empire, you could be with the Alliance, or you could be, a third faction. You could be with the non-aligned. Yeah, you could be with the bounty hunters, the pirates, the syndicates. You could do that. And also, too, I mean, one of the driving factors, too, I think, if I'm trying to remember correctly, with PvP and Galaxies was that, unlike here in Tor, I mean, once you earn your rank in Tor, you keep that rank forever. Okay, in Galaxies, what they did to make sure you play PvP, if you were going to do that, was that every week that you didn't PvP, you lost points. So you had to earn X amount of points to make a rank in PvP. So if you didn't play for a week or so or longer, you would lose points. Guess what? You lose enough points, you lost that rank. You were bumped down to the next rank.
Wasn't that how Warcraft's Battleground system was at first?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought so, back when you got titles based on your rank.
Right. And the thing was, too, because all the PvP abilities you got were based on your rank, so it hurt. If you lost a rank, you lost access to those abilities or the right to use certain gear and weapons that you got from PvP. So there again was a motivating factor for the PvP crowd. If they really wanted PvP, they actually had, you had to pursue it earnestly. You could say, I'll take a week off here. No, you actually had to keep doing it if you want to keep your rank.
That seems like that's a good thing because it keeps you involved on that character.
Yeah, and again, all different systems, different games that worked, and so on. But I digress. I just want to wrap up what I was doing. I also went back to an older look for my level 60 characters because for right now, I think by another few days, I'll have my power tech at 60, and you can buy the level 60 gear, basic combination set. All the other level 60s I have their basic combination set, and lately I've been like, you know what? I really don't care for that look. So what have I been doing? I've just been going back through my storage on all those characters, or even hopping on the GTN really quick, and going for the quintessential looks of these character classes way back when. Okay, and one of the best examples is, if everyone can remember back to when the game first launched, even before that, before early access, when BioWare Austin released the very first videos on some of the classes, to where they highlighted the Jedi, and they showed you the Jedi Sentinel, right? And you see that female that female Jedi Sentinel in the armor she's wearing. Okay, that gray top, the gray pants, boots with the straps and everything. I actually have all that armor. All right, it's all orange.
Do you want to wear that first armor set that you see the consular wearing in that video?
Again, that's why I'm doing the mixing and match. Oh wait, you know what? I'm trying to get as close as I can. If it doesn't really look as good, but for me, I mean, the Sentinels look, the actual armor in this game that says Sentinel armor. All right, and if you have the adaptive versions of it, to me, I put myself on that because to me that's the iconic look the game had for the Sentinel back then. So that if you ever knew what they were promoting when the game first launched, all right, then hey, yeah. Before you even whip out the double sabers, all right, that's a Jedi Sentinel because that was their look, that was their armor look when they first released.
Did you ever look at those armor sets that are available on your Capital World that are class specific legacy sets?
No.
Well, they have one for each class. So there's a Sentinel set, and there's actually a high level and a low level one. And they're all adaptive, so they're either you can wear them at any level or they're level 10 and 20 restricted. But they have a high level and a low level looking set for each class. But they are expensive. Like the chest and stuff cost 200 or 250K, and the wrist and belt are like 75K a pop.
Wow.
So they're expensive and they're class specific, but they're legacy sets. So I guess if you had 2 Sentinels, you could put it in the bank and use it on the other Sentinel. But other than that, it's inferior to every other legacy set.
Jay, I think on Coruscant, the legacy vendors are just outside those stairways when you're at the Senate Plaza. Like before you make that left or right, going down those stairs, you should see them off to the side. And
on Drome and Koss, they're standing right next to that weird guy that gives you the Galactic Strongholds quest on the terminal.
Yeah, that big hollow terminal that's there saying, hey, buy a Galactic Stronghold.
Feel vindicated. Get a stronghold.
Do you want to feel powerful and show it off to your friends and buy a stronghold?
Crush people under your stuff.
Yeah, I love the two different ads. The Republic one is great. That's just like the Republic ad reminds me of like a 1950s happy-go-lucky commercial. Oh no, it's that gambling one. If I remember correctly. Like, wanna feel special, and the Empire one is just like, feel powerful, look powerful, make everyone else look like crap.
And the dude
buy
has
a stronghold.
Emo haircut.
Yeah, buy a stronghold.
Make other people look like crap, like me.
Oh man, so yes, I'm working on that. Among other things too, because of, again, going back to the various clipping issues with those armor sets. Okay, like my Marauder set, my Operative set. The way when she turns her head, she just clips right into the collar piece of the jacket she's wearing. Like, geez, man, it's like it's not even there.
That's not even the worst graphics bug we've seen.
Right, but that's part of the reason why. And then to wrap it up, I'm just a bit disappointed because PAX East is going on right now. Okay, I've been watching off and on when I've had a chance today to actually take a look at it, and I'm just sad and a bit disappointed in the fact that every other BioWare studio is there except for Austin. Okay, BioWare is out there in force except for them, and if I remember correctly, they canceled their thing there because of the weather, and I believe they made that announcement weeks ago.
Yeah, and even so, that was just going to be a community cantina.
Right. And I for one, am just, man, you've got to take every opportunity to promote the game. Especially now when you have the rest of your company, the rest of your corporation is there. The rest of the BioWare family is going to be there. BioWare Montreal, BioWare Edmonton, they're all there.
Well, not directly, but this kind of ties into the one news topic that we have to discuss tonight about them canceling the ESL event. Right,
and I'll say that for later. But yeah, I'm disappointed that they're not there, okay? And the fact that they use the weather as an excuse to cancel it, to me, is just downright lame, because I'm sorry, the rest of your corporation is there, all right? They made the trip. Other game studios, heck, from the West Coast, they're there. They're flying in from a hell of a lot longer distance than you guys are. They made it. Okay, when you have cosplayers and fans who are making that trip from all over the country and they're there, and yet you say, well, we're canceled because of the weather. Wow.
Honestly, I believe that cancellation came because Courtney Woods is on the writing team now, and the community team is very well understaffed. I don't think they have enough people to go to a community cantina in Boston and still have a community team.
Again, I mean, that could be the scenario, but we could speculate about that, and that's all it would be speculation. The fact that they won't have enough people behind to actually do the day-to-day stuff back in Austin, then run the cantina, and then actively participate in PAX East along with the rest of BioWare.
Let's just hope that they still stay true to their commitment to go to Star Wars Celebration.
I think they have to.
And that they make a big push there.
Right, and play it part of the point, too. At this point, what does BioWare Austin have to announce? Nothing. And again, he's right, too, is the fact that they've flat out said that they want the cantinas to be the Q&As now. They don't want to actually... then again, that probably means that they don't want to be at these venues anymore because they don't want to go through that process. They'd rather keep it small and controllable, probably.
Well, no, they said that they don't want the cantinas to be Q&As anymore. They want to actually make announcements at cantina events.
I'm sorry, but, it's kind of a smaller crowd when you think about it. You could draw a whole bunch of people into your venue at a major exposition like this. The purpose of having an announcement is like you want it to reach as many ears as possible. I mean, that's basic marketing. You want the biggest crowd possible. To do it at a cantina, which inherently by itself is a smaller event. Well, because where do they hold these cantinas? At restaurants or bars.
One thing I've noticed the entire time we've been following BioWare and Star Wars: The Old Republic is that when it comes to making announcements and spreading news, they don't do it like any other company. This is the one company where when something big is announced and comes out, you can go to their website and you won't see crap about it. You got to go to third-party websites like Dolphy to actually see the information about what was just announced by BioWare. They don't promote things on their own website. Their own website is terrible for finding anything that they announce. So it seems like at this point it's in their culture that they would rather have these little gatherings like Community Cantina, pass out the flash drives to people, make announcements there, and then rely on the community to spread the word throughout the community. Because all that has to happen is one person there has to give the information to Dolphy, and then everybody knows. They don't do things the traditional way.
No, they don't. Whether or not it works for them, again, like you just said, they would rather depend on third parties to spread their information rather than being the source of information themselves. Like, yeah, you know what? We don't want to do it. You guys do it for us instead. Then, quite honestly, if that's their approach, again, I'm oversimplifying it, but if that's their approach, then why are they even necessary? You could just have marketing do it themselves. Just have direct lines. All right, every fan site that's out there, here's the information. Here's an information packet for the latest stuff. You're free to use it. It's non-NDA, nothing super secret squirrel. It's all the stuff that we've already approved. So anything we give you here, you're free to use and spread. And then completely bypassing Musco and his department. At this point now, they're superfluous.
See, I don't know, because they've just never been that good about directly communicating with fan sites. I mean, us as a podcast, when Hillary Nicole started working there, she was the first person to actually interact with us, and at most, all we would get is, when they actually did make an announcement on the website, she would send us an email telling us that they made the announcement on the website and just link us to what everybody else could see on the website. Mm-hmm. There was no advance notice, no outline of what was coming, or anything like that. So they do things a very unorthodox way, and I don't understand their methods at times.
True, and play brings up another good point. Maybe they just don't have the budget. To hire the people. But then again, it doesn't excuse from the fact that, you should still be passing that information. That information still needs to be on StarWarsBeyond.com, not Dolphy.net.
That would be my argument right there.
Right.
It would be a lot cheaper to put the information on your own website than it is to fly people to bars across the country and pay for them to have items to pass out to people.
Yeah, at this point, when do you actually look at your budget and say, you know what? It costs us X amount of dollars to rent out the space at this club, at this bar, or this hotel's bar.
Well, you figure they're planning these events months in advance. So if they're buying the plane ticket when they're planning it, they're still paying like maybe $150 if they're getting a discount for a plane ticket. for each person from BioWare that's going. And then I assume they're staying in a hotel overnight, so that's hotel fare. And they're probably spending a couple thousand just for transportation and hotel stay and all that for the people that are going. Plus whatever all the little flash drives and stuff that they pass out at these events cost.
Those little things are probably very cheap, which is why they're easy to do. But you're right, the overall cost though would be just the fact of holding the venue itself. Renting the space, the hotel, the airfare, what have you, transportation costs. And then whatever, of course, the food and drink bill. Because what is it? Everyone gets at least 2 drinks on them.
Yeah, that's a good point too. So we're probably talking, by the time the whole event is said and done, it's probably maybe $5,000 each time they do a canteen event.
Again, that's just a wild number we're just putting out there. But in the end, it's an expenditure which could have been better placed towards actually. They stayed in their offices at Austin and said, "All right, this is the information packet that has to get out there to the fans and the fan sites."
Well, that's exactly it. I'm just saying, if it was a budget concern, this wouldn't be the method to save money on the budget.
Right. If it's a budgetary concern, then they're going about the wrong way, because now this is a cantina is an expenditure that that they can do away with. So again, that doesn't kind of sit well with me when it comes in terms of that.
Yeah.
And again, what is Play bring up a good point there to bring up a point here where they should be copying what Blizzard, ZOS, Carbine, etc. have been doing, and just be much more involved with their player base or fan base. And I guess one of the easiest, cheapest ways to do that is, again, just more interactivity on the forums. Okay, I mean, they're there for a reason. You want the players to go there, to gravitate there, to find out information about your game, interact with not only you but with the players themselves. All right, whether or not they have, the Tor Reddit and Tor Facebook.
Well, I think that when they look for a replacement for Hillary Nicole's job, instead of just hiring somebody off the street that's never worked in community management before, I think that they need to get somebody that was a senior community manager for a well-known company and has that experience reaching out to communities and bringing communities together. Because I think that one of the major weaknesses of the BioWare community team right now is that everybody that's on it, this seems to be their first job in community management, and they don't have any seasoned veterans there to help them learn the methods that work. I mean, it's just my perspective. I know Musco admits outright this is his first job in the industry. And Hillary Nicole was more of a streamer and gamer before she started working there.
Right. And I seem to recall reading as well that people have observed that I believe Tate Watson can be very shy to the point where he disappears. Like, not disappears from here, but he's just like he does a ninja, and you have to go looking for him at these events. Okay, and that I'm sorry, that boggles my mind. Okay, before I became a soldier, I was involved in corporate America, and everyone in the marketing department and every company I worked for, public relations, marketing, you know what? It was the in-your-face, hey, how you doing? How are you? Nice to meet you. My name is... So what do you think about this? Maybe, can I regale you about what's going on with this product, what we're doing here, and so on. And never being afraid to step up, meet someone, shake the hands, press the flesh, be social. Okay?
Yeah, it's part of community management.
Right. Because in the end, you are public relations. And if you have a people problem, and yet you work for a public relations department where you have to actively involve yourself with a community, with your customers, and you can't talk to people, or you are afraid to address people, then bleeping, what are you doing working in that job? I'm sorry. I am sorry. If you cannot involve yourself with people, and yet you are part of a community team that is supposed to be social and get out there, it's like saying, you know what, I want to be a fighter pilot, but I don't know how to fly a jet, but I'm going to do it anyway because they gave me the damn jet.
And CJ is saying now that community coordinator / contact is going to be a first job in the industry for a lot of people. Well, yes, but see, the problem is right now, most of these companies have a community manager, and the community manager at any other company is not somebody that's just hired off the street to be the community manager. They are somebody that has worked in community positions, usually for several different companies, before they became a senior community person at the job that they're at now. And see, I think that one of the shortcomings is that when Muska was hired, Stephen Reed was the community manager, and he was pretty much out the door shortly after. So Musko didn't have a lot of opportunity to work with somebody that was more experienced in the community management field before he was put into that position where he's at the head of everything.
Right. And Jay, yes, you're correct. That phrase you just wrote, he's kind of shy. Kind of shy does not kind of belong working community relations.
Well,
or better yet, get over it, because that's your job. If you don't like it, jeez, if it's that much of an issue to where it's noticeable, man, please do your community a favor. It's not hating Tate. It's more of galvanizing him to actually be more active. Get everyone there to be more active.
I think it's not going to happen unless they get somebody in there that has more experience in this department.
Right. I mean, I'm only saying it because I want him. He's there. For when he's been active. He's done good things, and you know what? That's got to continue. But for him to keep pushing, he's got to move forward. He's got to keep being out there. He's got to put himself out there and deal with the shyness, move beyond it, because you are a member of the community team. You have to be a face that's easily recognizable, or a name that's easily recognizable, and people know they can address you and come to you when you're out there at these type of events.
Yeah, well said. I do think, though, now it's time to talk about our news.
Indeed.
Which it's really just that one thing about the ESL. So I think we kind of foreshadowed what was going to be announced a little bit, although I didn't expect them to actually cancel it. I thought that it was actually going to go through. Mm-hmm. BioWare announced that they were canceling their entry into the ESL competition because of bugs in the Cortani encounter. So what are your thoughts on that, Lou?
Well, first of all, I want to say I'm glad BioWare Awesome is taking this chance to actually do something like this, an event like this. Okay, I applaud the fact that, again, they wanted to join the Electronic Sports League. Okay, they wanted to participate in a different type of environment. Okay, they wanted to actually participate in the esports arena. So, yeah, I'm disappointed that they had to cancel. Obviously, we all know why, because they realized, the devs realized they couldn't fix the Cortania counter to a satisfactory point to where, it wouldn't adversely affect the teams trying to run it. All right. If you haven't heard, if you haven't had a chance to read, I believe Musko wrote in that email response that he posted on the forums that yes, the developers realized they hit a point to where they couldn't adequately fix the issues that were plaguing the encounter. Okay, they couldn't fix it to the point to where they would be comfortable using it as their first entry into the E-League, so to speak. Okay, that they couldn't move forward with it. They couldn't use it to highlight Tor because obviously it's a bugged encounter. Okay, it doesn't run flawlessly.
From what I read, it seemed like it all came down to a door. Sometimes this door would be closed, sometimes the door would be open, and by it not being there, it basically allowed teams to mitigate a small fraction of time. But as Musko was pointing out, any small fraction of time can be detrimental when you're doing a timed speed run. Right.
Yeah, especially it's a speed run. Okay, so any little thing, and that was one of the examples, was the door. Okay, that's one of the issues they couldn't fix. Okay, there were others that they didn't mention, but yeah, they had several encounters, several things they couldn't patch in time, or to their satisfaction, because obviously when you want to do stuff in the esports arena, your stuff's got to run. No issues, no hiccups, for the most part. Okay, again, we use other examples of like the MOBAs. All right, when you fire up your character, your avatar in League of Legends, okay, or in Dota 2. Or now in Smite, your character logs in, you're in the arena, and you see your team, and boom, you go. Right? Nothing happens in the map because the maps, the environments, the server themselves, everything is stable, everything runs smoothly. And then when you're trying to submit your first example, and it has issues, maybe then you realize, maybe we shouldn't do it. And I'm glad they actually realized that they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it to a point to where they could actually adequately represent their player, the player base. Meaning, some of the player teams that would submit would get screwed, and some wouldn't. All right. And the big thing, one of the things I wanted to mention though that I want to drive home was the fact that I hope BioWare doesn't let this slip out of their hands completely. Meaning, fine, this instance didn't work. Okay, there are other things that Tor has in its repertoire that it can completely use for an esports arena. Okay, there are other encounters, other things they can do. Okay?
I think that if they made this announcement and the player feedback would have just been all, we completely understand, they wouldn't even hesitate to do this event once they think that they have a raid encounter that is pretty much flawless. But the player feedback to this cancellation was anything but understanding and accepting. These people were not happy at all. Which is understandable when you announce that you're going to be doing a contest, and up for grabs is cash prizes, in-game items, and even a trip to be their guest at Star Wars Celebration. Like, those are some pretty compelling prizes, and then you just yank the possibility away. So, players weren't too happy about that.
Right, and among other things too, I mean, again, yes, a good portion of player feedback was downtrodden and negative because, remember, when they first made the announcement, it felt as if it was rushed. I mean, they had the idea, and now they're releasing the player base. All right, and some of the feedback that was given was that, all right, first you made the announcement, you told us what it was. However, you didn't tell us what the rule set was, what the other conditions of the contest were, and they pretty much, if I remember correctly, they only gave them a week to do it from that announcement. If they were going to go forward with it, they realized, all right, it starts next week, or we're going to start ramping things up next week. Not giving the player base time to actually, if they were considering it. Again, one of the examples I'm trying to remember is, one guild, she was like, all right, you didn't give us time to see, all right, who do we have on our roster? Who's free? What characters do they have? Who can they bring? What are the other conditions of the contest that we need to be aware of that, so that we don't inadvertently disqualify ourselves?
It just blows my mind, too, because when Musco came out and gave more clarity on the subject, he explained that they were aware of these bugs at the Cortani encounter, but they thought that they could get them fixed in time for the event. But I just don't understand why they wouldn't wait until they knew that it was fixed and that the encounter was working as they originally intended it to work before they would even consider announcing something like this. When we talked about it last week, as soon as we mentioned it, all three of us knew that it was a bad idea. And the entire development team somehow thought that they would miraculously make it work within a week.
Right, and again, that was also one of the comments that was brought back to their attention, meaning you chose an encounter that has been bugged since release. Obviously in the forums you have had folks and guilds saying, we haven't had those issues, what are you guys talking about? But then again, we have other people saying it's happened. We've seen it, it's done, it's there. Okay? So then before it degenerates into a he said, she said argument, it's more of, okay, you have some of the players saying it happens, some of the players say it doesn't happen. But then in the end, you do realize that your encounter is flawed. It hasn't been fixed. You want to participate in this type of event, and the model you're going to use doesn't work very well. Okay, it doesn't make you look good. And I think that's one of the issues that's coming up there now is that for the player base, it's kind of like, you kind of humiliated yourself in the esports arena before you even had a chance. Okay, and I think that's something they didn't want to deal with. Is the fact that, it is something that they should have probably, again, no one here knows they were doing what they were planning, but they should have realized, hey, the encounter we want to use has issues. Maybe we should fix it first, and then maybe jump on and say, hey, ESL, we want to do something with you.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, though, once they realized they couldn't fix it, they made the right decision by canceling the event. Because it would have been an even bigger blowout, especially when cash prizes are on the line, if one group kept getting the bugged encounter and just lost by a few seconds.
Exactly. And again, Jay brings a good point. They did the hard thing. They did the right thing. They did the professional, and they backed out. And yes, you know what? They are taking flack for it, but in the end, take the flack now because you realize you hit a wall which you couldn't get over. You admit to it, and now you're going to have to fix it. And at least they've said, yeah, we made a mistake. We can't do it.
And typically when they make a mistake, they do make their best effort to not repeat that mistake again.
Right.
But I do hope that making that effort to not repeat this mistake again doesn't mean never considering entering the esports arena again.
Exactly. I mean, again, what else does Tor offer? Heck, I think players would enjoy seeing Hutball, right? Because not many MMOs have, when they have a PvP model, they don't have something like Hutball. I think Tor is the only MMO that has something like that has, that kind of event. All right, it's usually what? Capture the flag, free for all, okay? But nothing as, hey, I got the ball, man. Essentially, I'm scoring a touchdown.
Hutball basically is capture the flag, where you can pass the flag.
Right, but the way it's formatted, you really can have a blast with it.
Yeah, it's the only capture the flag I've ever played where they set up the arena to kill you.
It's just fun, And I think it could be hopefully it could be within the devs' grasp to where, hey, you know what? If they could they expand it to where they could bring back 8v8? Is there a way for them to expand the maps to make it big enough to accommodate an 8v8 team? Yeah, because 4 versus 4, that's great. It's what we got. But you know what? It would be fun to bring more friends or more people, to bring in and just cause more chaos.
I think if they did bring back 8v8 and the news got out there, that would actually bring people back to the game. KOTOR has like a rep for being some of the most balanced PvP out there. They would just, if they brought back 8v8, a lot of the people that left because it wasn't competitive enough, I think they would come back.
Right. And Jay, maybe, you know what, I'd even say they could probably use GSF later on, because look at World of Warplanes. That's essentially what GSF is. But you're out in space and using fighters, bombers, what have you. I really think if they went back, and fixed the issues that plague GSF right now, I think GSF could be really another excellent example for Tor to enter the esports arena. And because World League Gaming alone, when they do World of Tanks competitions, pretty soon you're going to have the same thing with World of Warplanes. And I really think, too, that GSF could be a great entry into that. A nice contender to go in to be in the same arena as World of Warplanes.
Definitely, and especially with them alluding to the fact that they're going to be revisiting GSF to figure out rewards that are going to probably keep people playing it more often. That would be a nice tie-in if they actually brought it to the esports scene at the same time.
Right. And again, let's capitalize upon the Star Wars IP. I mean, people have heard of Star Wars. Okay, and I think it'd be great. I mean, if what if there was a Star Wars MOBA like League of Legends? I think it would do well. I think it would have a decent crowd, decent following.
Oh my gosh, could you imagine if they made a Legends of Star Wars MOBA where you could have Darth Vader fighting Darth Malgus?
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be great. And the same thing too. I mean, again, a lot of people who don't, who normally follow Star Wars, don't play MMOs, do whatever, would maybe check it out and say, hey, you know what? I get to smash face with a stormtrooper. That's cool. Or all right, if we go with the classic tour, all right, cool. I get to, I get to do a typical Scorpion get over here move on either my Vanguard or on my power tech. That's awesome. And to do a rocket punch, if I'm on my PT, or do a rifle stock strike if I'm on my Vanguard. That's awesome.
See, now you got me thinking about a Star Wars MOBA and what they could do with pulling all kinds of characters from the books and everything to fight against one another.
Yeah. I mean, or even then, I mean, if they wanted to, again, these are all possibilities that Tor can use. It has at their disposal, or things they have access to, because they are part of the Star Wars family, that they could bring in, they could bring and put on the table to make themselves a viable and notable contender in the esports arena. Because, I wouldn't mind watching, Void Star matches. I wouldn't mind watching Hutball. I mean, look at the way Hutball is designed. You get that great announcer. You have the announcers there. It's like, oh, look at
Let's play Hutball!
Exactly. Can you imagine the same kind of commentary when you're watching a Void Star match or any of the matches? And just see, oh my god, that assassin just took a twin saber throw to the face! And he's down. So sad. Oh.
All the possibilities. And then when you actually have, like, the world championship of that go down, you have a live announcer doing it in real time.
Oh, yeah. Or the way most are now, you have at least 2 or 3 announcers who are following the actual and doing the play-by-play. Like, you're watching baseball or football. That'd be great.
Oh, yeah. That would be cool.
And again, easily recognizable franchise. Everyone has at least heard of Star Wars. So even if they don't follow it, they know, hey, yeah, oh, look at that. Who is that? Is that a Jedi Knight just force choking someone? Oh, no, it's a Sith warrior. Okay. It's a Sith Juggernaut using force choke and then smash. Oh, that person's down. That would be great. And again, all these possibilities that are there, and I really hope that, yes, okay, BioWare did cancel this entry. Please don't let it be the last, first and last. The game has other things available, things that are out there that you can use, and I think the players would heartily support.
I just hope that they're not viewed as like a joke to ESL now, because they threw their name in the hat for such a short period of time and then pulled it right back out.
Well, I probably would think that maybe ESL is saying, okay, maybe the first thing you wanted to show us didn't work. That's cool, but like any other organization, ESL probably knows exactly what Tor has, and maybe they could drop hints or suggest, hey, you know what? If this didn't work, do you have other things that you might want to showcase? And again, since ESL is player versus player type content, Tor has player versus player content. Maybe drop the word, hey, you guys have this, right? You can showcase that. We wouldn't mind doing it. We wouldn't mind carrying that stream. We wouldn't mind sponsoring that for you guys, and take it from there. See where it goes. Again, all I'm saying is don't let this be your last. You tried, okay, didn't quite work out. Don't let it discourage you. The game has other avenues that you can put out there, and we got a lot of support.
Good points. Okay, so then we'll go ahead and move into the Star Wars recommendation of the week. For this week, we have a doozy. Over at our friends at stupid.com, we have Anakin's lightsaber, the flashlight. It looks exactly like his lightsaber, with 4 LED bulbs in there. We think, Lou, you want a lightsaber that looks like Anakin's in a flashlight form?
What are you talking about? I have a lightsaber.
But does it double as a flashlight?
No, I can actually take its partner and put it together and make it as a saber staff. Why? Something like that.
Did I mention that I plated ID10T with cortosis?
Aw. That's pretty smart move, though.
Yeah,
sooner or later
I saw you trying to weld his arms together.
Wait, you saw that? I thought he disabled those cameras.
Oh, he has all kinds of cameras. He looks like a trash can, man. There's all kinds of audio-visual equipment inside of him. And a parrot, apparently.
Oh, is that the one from Rishi? Oh. Ooh.
Oh. It's that initial quest giver. Hey guys, I'm real happy to be here.
I was about to say, you sure it's a parrot, not a kawaii monkey lizard that get in there and it's just cackling maniacally?
No, it's definitely the quest giver.
Okay. And if you choose that one dialogue option, definitely no cannibalism. Whatsoever.
Vader says, no! Right, Lucas? Then, let's go ahead and move on into the intelligence report. And what do you have for us this week, Lou?
Alright, and as I mentioned before, the past couple of weeks, this topic, force power, folks, it's going to be a doozy, because there are a lot of them. As there should be, since Star Wars is, it's about the force. And so what I've done, obviously, is break it up into little pieces here and there. That way, we don't devote an entire episode or 2 or 3 or 4 to one topic. So I'm going to pick up this week with the force power called Morikro. Morikro was a powerful but potentially dangerous technique of the Force, which was taught to very few Jedi. And one of its chief practitioners in the Order during its last years was Jedi Master Yaddle. Alright, Jedi Master Yaddle is another representative of Yoda's species. Okay? Minus the hair and he has less wrinkles. There's a photo of him on the wiki. But it's the same species. Now, similar to a Force trance, Morikro suspended biological functions, including breathing and heart rate. A trained Morikro user could turn the technique upon himself or herself, surviving without food, water, or even air for periods of over a year at a time, though it would not protect against vacuum. But unlike a Force trance, it could also be turned on others. making it an effective way of subduing enemies. However, failure to monitor a target opponent could render them permanently unconscious or cause them to die of dehydration or starvation. That would be bad. Despite its daily potential, Murikro was not practiced by those who used the dark side, as it required a mastery of a less malicious use of the Force than most Darksiders traditionally employed. Murikro had been known to Jedi since 24,500 years before the Battle of Yavin. During the First Great Schism, Jedi Master Andreas Stepina used the technique against Arden Lyn, killing her, until she was resurrected by the power of the Kashi Mur Talisman, 250 centuries later. That's in the EU, folks. Before approximately 5,000 years before the Battle of Yavin. Use and training in Murikro was left unchecked, but the Jedi Council, was wary of its potential for abuse. They banned its teachings to all but a select few by 1,000 years before the Battle of Yavin. Before long, the Force ability became forgotten to most Jedi, and its mention became scarce, if hardly at all. In the last centuries of the old Jedi Order, however, Jedi Master Yaddle uncovered the ancient technique after apparently scanning through 3 holocrons that barely contained any information on the power. While the Jedi High Council allowed her to teach some students on Murikro, they ultimately prohibited its use as abuse of the technique could easily prove fatal. During the Clone Wars, Jedi healers used Murikro to destroy stone mites on Kishi. Kip Duron, he's in the EU, used Murikro when he saved himself from the destruction of the Sun Crusher. After stuffing himself inside a messenger pod as his only means of escape, he was rescued by Han Solo, Lando Calrissian, and Mara Jade. Han thought Kip entered into a form of Jedi meditation, but Mara corrected him, saying that Kip survived by slowing his bodily functions to the point of near stasis. It was also successfully used by Anakin Solo on Yavin 8 against Ariel. Again, that's in the EU. And now we move on to the power of Tapas. Tapas was a Force technique that allowed its user to draw on the power of the Force to remain warm in a cold environment. Jedi Knight Jason Solo once used this Force technique, employing it in conjunction with a Force shield during the Battle of Abag in 28 years after the Battle of Yavin, to survive in a mine that had lost its atmosphere. The art of keeping warm in a cold environment, obviously, Tapas required the user to concentrate on the Force to retain his or her body heat. Utilizing Tapas to retain one's body heat was used by Jedi in hostile environments, such as vacuum. If a Force-sensitive, knowledgeable, and Tapas found themselves in a cold environment, they could draw on the Force to keep themselves warm. Again, going back to what Jason Solo did, Tapas was an ability once displayed by him. He used this technique during the Battle of the Bag of the Yuzhan Vong War. This is when his mentor, Vergere, crashed an RZ-1A Alpha Wing Interceptor into the Ebag 9 moon, perishing on impact, and causing the mines in which Solo was fighting to lose atmosphere. He was forced to use Tapas in conjunction with a Force shield to survive in the depressurized area. He found it difficult to concentrate on Tapas on maintaining a Force shield that retained his air, and so he began to shiver. He managed to hold on with the help of Vergere's spirit before help arrived. And now we move on to Cloak of Shadow, one of our favorites. Cloak of Shadow. Force Cloak, or also known as Force Camouflage and Force Concealment, was a rarely seen Force talent involving the manipulation of light and sound waves to render a practitioner virtually invisible to the naked eye. This technique was found mainly among members of the Jedi Order before the rise of the Galactic Empire and the destruction of the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. Despite the loss of knowledge among the Jedi, the technique of cloaking oneself in Force was perfected by the Disciples of Twilight, a mysterious sect based on the Outer Rim moon Dispath. The technique of cloaking oneself in the Force was one practiced by Force-sensitive individuals since the early days of the Galactic Republic. A rare ability, a Force user will call upon the mastery of the Force to photokinetically bend light and sound waves around themselves, rendering them invisible to visual and audio detection. This skill tends to come to people as more of a natural talent, for it is extremely difficult to learn otherwise. Thus, the ability is rarely seen. As the technique physically bent light like a cloaking device, this power could be used to evade being detected not only by living beings, but also beings normally immune to Force-based illusions, such as droids and the Yuzhang Vong. While highly effective when practiced properly, maintaining such a cloak was extremely taxing, and the concentration needed to make a convincing shroud could diminish the worth of employing the technique. Like all Force-based abilities, no single method existed to cloak oneself. An alternate version, which did not involve a command over light and sound, was an advanced form of mind trick or Force persuasion. In this way, a user affected the minds of those around them, removing all traces of their presence from the mind of observers and allowing them to move completely unnoticed while in plain sight. Unlike other methods of cloaking, droids and other non-living individuals could not be fooled by a mind trick. The origin of the cloaking technique is lost to history, but study of the rare and seldom used ability can be seen in the teaching of the Jedi Order as early as the Great Sith War, in which it is defined as a alter ability. Accounts within the Order's Great Holocron refer to the Cathar Jedi Knight Juhani, who was said to possess a natural talent for the skill. At the same time, Jedi Master turned Sith Lord Darth Traya favored the technique, believing that the perception of others was just another tool, another means by which to manipulate. Through this technique, Traya and her alter ego, Kriya, could move about friend and foe alike while cloaking herself. The Jedi Order maintained knowledge of the technique in the Great Holocron stored within the archives of the Coruscant Jedi Temple for centuries. Jedi Master Tolm was known to have passed the cloaking technique to his Padawan, Quinlan Vos, who would later impart the knowledge to Aayla Secura. The infamous knight and later Dark Lord of the Sith, Anakin Skywalker, had learned the technique during the Clone Wars and used it so successfully to destroy the Cortosis droid factory on the planet Metalorn. When the Jedi Order was disbanded by the Galactic Empire at the end of the Clone Wars, the art lived on in several survivors. Padawan Maris Brood perfected the technique of cloaking herself to a deadly art, using it in conjunction with Force-enhanced speed during her duel with the Sith assassin Starkiller, though she was ultimately defeated by him. Jinlo Race taught the technique to members of his secret group known as the Agents of Ossus, to evade detection by the prowling Inquisitorius. Members of the Reformed Jedi Order would rediscover the Great Holocron and the teaching within, relearning the technique lost several decades before. During the early rebuilding process, Jedi Jaden Korr had some level of mastery in this skill, having the ability to distract others while she sneaked about. Okay, that's from Jedi Academy, folks. Other groups aside from the Jedi had developed their own techniques that mirrored the Jedi's ability. Former Dathmiri Night Sister, Lomi Plo, was skilled in the technique, using others' doubts and fears to mask her from view during the Dark Nest crisis. Additionally, over the course of his existence, the cult known as the Disciples of Twilight had created several variations of the technique to suit their needs, calling one such technique Shadow Armor. Users of the ability would bend light and shadow around themselves to make their presence indistinguishable from the darkness. And now we move on to another ability, or another set of powers called Sense. Or in the words of Jedi Master Bodo Bass, Sense involves the next step, in which the Jedi recognizes the Force in the universe outside himself or herself. Classified as sensibilities by the Jedi Order, these techniques were taught to Padawans to broaden the scope of their control abilities. Dipping into a deeper understanding of the living Force, sensibilities allowed Force wielders to immerse themselves in the environment. By the end of their apprenticeship, Padawans were expected to use the Force as an additional sense, constantly attuned to the undulation of the Force. The Jedi Order saw the sense abilities divided into four main groups: Prima Vitae, Tactus Otium, Tai Vordrax, or psychometry, and projected telepathy. While there were many other styles to the Sense family, these were considered the most vital to Jedi teachings. And the first one, Force Listening, or Theron Force Listening. This was a Force technique used by Theron listeners to hear through the Force. With it, Force sensitives could understand words in another language or listen to beings talking from a distance. Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi used this ability, and Ahsoka Tano apparently uses it in the Coruscant underworld, trying to find clues to where Aurra Sing was located. Jason Solo learned the technique from the Tharans after the Yuzhan War. Later, Jaina Solo also used this technique to listen to Boba Fett 3 floors above her while on a starship. Okay, so this kind of explains, folks, as to why Jedi or Force users can kind of understand exactly what other races are saying in their own native tongue. Alright, so that's where they get that ability from. Force Meld. Force Meld, otherwise known as Jedi Meld or Battle Meld, was a technique where a number of Force users join their minds together through the Force, drawing strength from each other. A refinement of battle meditation, it was known to the ancient Jedi, though dangerous. While battle meditation can influence both the Force sensitives and the insensitives on both sides, Force Meld concentrates on coordinating and improving the Force sensitives of the user side. Because the number of Force sensitives participating in a full-scale battle was usually much smaller than the insensitives, in a way, the demand of Force Meld was smaller than that of battle meditation, as the meld influenced a smaller number of sentient minds. As a result, Force Meld was believed to be relatively easier to master, as the number of meld practitioners in the New Jedi Order was almost half of all the known battle meditation practitioners in the Old Order. George C'baoth performed it at least 8 times in his life. Okay, this is the Dark Jedi that Luke encounters later on in the EU. Anakin Solo redeveloped it for the New Jedi Order during the Yuzhan War, which allowed the Jedi fighting the Yuzhan War to act as a single powerful entity. Under the coordination of Jason Solo, Force Meld played an important role during the mission to Mirkir, boosting the efficiency of the Mirkir strike team. Later inspired by George C'baoth's legendary power during the Thrawn campaign, Jaina Solo further fine-tuned Force Meld as a starfighter squadron tactic used in her twin son's squadron. Shortly afterward, Mandarin applied the meld as an inter-squadron coordinating tactic, with Jason and Luke Skywalker soon taking up a post as well. Prolonged use of this technique will cause the users to start finishing each other's sentences or thoughts. Scary. This power can also be seen as a form of telepathy. Obi-Wan Kenobi warned that Force Meld took a master of great power and depth in the Force to create a single entity state without killing or destroying the minds of everyone involved. The drawback of Force Meld was one of the elements which led to the Darkness Crisis. The enhanced power brought by Force Meld worked both ways. While the entity could influence a large number of minds with much more power, a great disturbance in the Force could overwhelm the melding participants as they received the pain through their enhanced senses. If the pain was caused by the minds the melding participants were touching, it could bring devastating effects to the participants, sometimes to such a degree that the participants would lose control of their own minds and become ignorant to other threats. The majority of light side meld participants could prevent a single participant from slipping to the dark side. However, if the meld participants were divided in thoughts and could not focus to a common objective, the meld would become a liability rather than an asset. And this concludes part 3 of Force Powers. Next week, we're going to pick it up with part 4, and we pick it up with Force Sense. And as always, folks, I wish to say thank you to the Wikipedia, StarWars.com, Force.net, and other Star Wars lore sites that are out there. If you enjoy reading the Star Wars lore as much as I do, please go out to these sites, visit them, look up your favorite topics, and enjoy.
Very nice segment.
There you go.
Alright, so then we move into the community holo feed. First up is the trivia question of the week, where each week we post a trivia question into our YouTube video version of the show. If you go to StarWarsBeyond.com, each episode post has a link that takes you right to the YouTube video. Most of the time it's embedded into the site, unless you're viewing it on mobile. There will be a button in the video, and alternatively, if you don't see the button, it's after we say our goodbyes. You'll hear Lou's question. Then shoot us an email to StarWarsBeyond@gmail.com, and in the email include your character name, the faction you play on, the server you play on, and if there's more than one correct answer, we'll do a random drawing to win a cartel pack. Everyone that answers correctly will be entered into a drawing for a much larger prize, which we'll draw on the show every few months. You can be entered into the grand prize drawing every time that you answer correctly. And Lou, who was your winner?
Dun dun dun! Mike T. Or it's Chuck. He is the winner. And the answer, for those who did not get it, it was Mission Valve. Yes, that wisecracking, street smart, Twi'lek female from Knights of the Republic, whom you first meet. She was the answer. She is the answer for the trivia question.
You could buy her clothes in SWTOR.
Yes, you could buy her clothes in the GTN, or if you're lucky, you got the entire set through the cartel packs. But yes, her armor is out there, along with Mira, Atten Rand, Juhani. Who else? Oh, Jolie Bindo.
And who can forget Candace Ordo?
Yep, Candace Ordo. Brooke Lamar's armor is out there. Although I am trying to find Jolie Bindo's armor. That is a pretty cool top chest piece, I would say. That's actually, to me, when I look at Jolie Bindo's and Brooke Lamar's armor, chest pieces, to me that represents an iconic, quote-unquote Jedi look.
Who can forget Revan? He has two different versions of his set.
Oh yeah, Revan Reborn with that torrent cape.
And somebody posted on the forums that if you wear the new Revan armor set with the old mask, the mask clips through the hood.
Aww. Although last week I did see someone who had what was it? I think he was a Juggernaut, and he had the outfit for Darth Nihilus, and his female companion was Visas Mar. I mean, everything. Cool. He had. I mean, everything that's out there available. He had it all. And I actually took a moment and I stepped back. I sent him a whisper, like, "Dude, that is amazing. Like, lucky you that you got everything. That you got all the pieces you could. That looks great."
Oh yeah.
Because I was freaked when I saw him. Like, oh my god! I thought you were. Oh wait a minute. Oh. Whew. I thought I stopped you.
Yeah, that is neat. I forget which one it was, but there is an armor set that it looks like something out of ancient Greece. Had like scale mail that was gold.
Yeah, I think that's the Marshall something set. Yeah, I know that Chispy's talking about. It's got the leather type shoulders with the chain loops on it, along with the sash going across the chest. I think that's the one, Marshall Pilgrim or something like that.
Oh no, that's the one that just came out. There's another set that it looks like a Greek top, and all around it is like golden scale mail. It's named after one of the old Sith lords.
Oh, is it Tulax? No, Tulax has the huge bleeping shoulder pad look to it.
Might be a Juntapal.
No, we're gonna have to look later on.
Yeah, we're gonna have to look that up later. Okay, so then quickly we'll give a shout out to the other podcasts in the community. Check out ToroCast at torocast.com, Corellian Run Radio at corellianrun.com, UtiniCast at utinicast.com, SWTOR Skate Podcast at newoverlords.com, The Usual Podcast at theusualpodcast.com, Old Republic Radio on iTunes, Healing SWTOR on iTunes, Enmity Podcast on iTunes, and The Bad Feeling Podcast at badfeelingpodcast.com. And be warned, that is an explicit podcast. Also, you can follow Madmar at SWTOR Family for the latest happenings in the SWTOR community. And if you'd like to have your podcast listed on this segment, send us an email at StarWarsBeyond@gmail.com. You can find out more about our show at StarWarsBeyond.com. You can like us on Facebook at Facebook.com/StarWarsBeyondPodcast. Again, you can send us an email, StarWarsBeyond@gmail.com. You can tweet us. The show is at StarWarsBeyond. I am at Sith Lord Korv. Lou is at GamerGuy11B. Paige is at Asa Fiery. And now it's time for our final thoughts.
Again, as I mentioned before, I really hope that, yes, the Cortana counter couldn't be used for their first foray into the esports arena, but I really hope this doesn't mean that BioWare has given up on doing this. I really think it's a great way to expand towards player base, or expand its horizon in terms of getting more players involved, getting new players into the game. Okay, I hope they just take this as a learning experience and move on with it. It's like, all right, this didn't work, but we have other things. Again, we have other things we can offer ESL, and we know they work. So let's get on board with that. And I hope they move forward and they come up with something soon, or down the road, that they will show us, hey, yes, players, you can do this. We're going to have you run these events. We're going to do these events and still give you those great prizes we offered before. But now it's something we know that you can get behind 100%.
And for myself, I hope that moving forward we'd start to see some of these walls that seem to be in place torn down between the community team and the fans. Because it seems like the community team just isn't in touch with what's going on in the community. And I'd really like to see that change as we move forward. And I hope that the relationship between the actual company and the players becomes healthier. And hopefully we can start to see some of the issues with the game get resolved a little bit quicker. Beyond the Stars is an independently recorded fan podcast made in association with NSG Productions. And now it's time to say goodnight.
Good night, everyone. Thank you all for joining us. See you all again next time.
Good night, everybody.
You've served your purpose.
Beyond the Stars trivia question for the week of March 6th, 2015. First clue. We are one of the oldest civilizations in the galaxy. So old, our origins are lost even to us. Second clue. Hundreds of thousands of years later, our hyperspace technology still remains superior to any within the galaxy. Third clue. Our species never gave or exchanged technology with other species, if they could not theoretically build it themselves. Fourth clue. Over time, our people would retreat back to within our own borders, but still keep in contact with the other races through our droid representatives. Fifth clue. Our language was based on metaphors, using colors and geometry to express ourselves. Who, what are we? And folks, please send your responses to StarWarsBeyond@gmail.com. And in your email, please include your character name, what faction you play with, and the server you are on. Good luck, everyone. Looking forward to seeing your answers.